Perfect.
All right, well, as you can see, I got my son to come down and help me wrestle this thing and flip it over and get it put on the floor safely without breaking anything. Pretty excited about that. So now, this is the bottom side of what's going to be the top for this. So I've got to flip this guy over and get it set on here. It's not super heavy, but it is a little cumbersome for me to do by myself. I'll figure it out though. I mean, I feel like it can't be that big a deal. So basically, we got to get it flipped over, put on here. We got to measure the overhang to match that side over there. Yeah, and then draw out where our frame is underneath it so we can screw it down to glue it down. And then, you know, we'll drive our dowels in it and everything like I've done on all the rest of them. So, next step for me right now is to wrestle this thing over and into place and see how it sits. Actually, it's got a little spot right here. I'm gonna have to sand right quick. I'll sand this off and then we'll wrestle it over here. Shouldn't take but a second. Well, it would appear I was wrong. This is actually the top side, and this is the bottom. And it appears I got a little bit of scraping and sanding to do right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set it up on here and sand that off right quick. Which lets me know that I definitely got a little scraping or a little more sanding I gotta do on this other side. So I'm gonna scrape and sand this right quick and then we'll be back. Okay, so finally got it sitting on here and got it all squared up to the base the way that I want. Y'all forgive me, I got terrible allergies and apparently last night I lost my voice. So anyhow, I did find a little spot down there on that end that I gotta do a little repairing on. So no big deal. I'm not gonna worry about putting the screws and dowels that go all the way across that just yet. But I've got the frame drawn out on here for the other three sides. So now we're going to get to work drilling all the holes and throwing some screws in this dude to get ready to glue it down. So I'm going to start with the four corners and then I'll go and put screws in that and get all locked down. Then we'll come back and I'll drill all the ones that are going to go down the main stretchers. So I'm ready to get to drilling and screwing. No blue tape this time. I just pulled the bit out as far as I actually could. I wanted 2.5. I got it out to 2 3/8. That'll be fine as long as I'm careful drilling it. Hopefully it won't snap. All right, so got all the holes drilled in the base. Got a little spot fixed on the end that I screwed up. Screwed it up again just a little bit, but whatever, it'll be fine. So I pulled the screws out of the four corners. I got these, this is like a 3.5 inch long screw. So my plan is to shoot these screws down all the way through the top on all four corners, and I'll screw them all the way down so that they stick out like 1.5 inches past the bottom of it. Now the reason why is so I'm gonna get my son, he's gonna help me. That way, once I get the glue all over the base, we can come back. These screws will stick out farther, like that, so that we can come back and we can use the tips of these screws to kind of stick down in the holes right here where they go. And it'll kind of align the top where I need it to be. So that, and we'll be able to, with them sticking out farther, we'll be able to look under and kind of see what we're messing with. So that way, once those four screws sit down their holes, I'll know everything's lined up where it's supposed to be. I can back the screws out, then I can get the real screws that are actually going to attach it. I should be able to then go in, put all the screws in, the top be located where it's supposed to go. Now, all that is if this all happens in a perfect world and everything will go really smoothly. So fingers crossed, hopefully it does. So we're gonna get to getting. All right, well, we're just about there. So as you can tell, I went ahead and I kind of abbreviated the screwing and drilling and cutting dowels and doweling and gluing and sanding and all that, because you saw me do all that on the rest of it. So I kind of feel like you got the picture there on what was going on, and just, you know, I figured I could abbreviate it down into just, you know, a little short little clip versus another 30 minutes of videos, which really would have been another entire like episode, a whole other day. So nonetheless, we got it finished, got it sanded off for 220. It feels great. It looks fantastic. I am just over the moon happy with how it's turned out so far. So at this point, we're really getting down to the nitty gritty as far as what we got left to do. So we got to run around, we got to router this big top right here. We've got to still do our sanding and finish work on the piece that'll go right here, which essentially I'm just gonna sand it the way we did this right here. I'm gonna go ahead and router it, because once I get it put in there, I can't get a router on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand it and router it. So I guess our next phase right now is we're gonna go ahead and router this thing. We'll get that next top sanded and routed, then we'll get ready to install that. So I'm gonna get to routering. Alright, so got this bad boy all routed down. That took no time at all. I cannot wait to get this thing out of here. My shop is a wreck, and I got kind of bad OCD about a messy shop. So it's driving me crazy. So let's see, which side do I want to be the top? This side right here. Alright, so on this one, I gotta run over, sand this, get it finished out all smooth. Then I'm only gonna router the front edge and the back edge, because this will meet up flush with our inside edges of this. And if I router, it's just going to give dirt and debris and stuff just a nice little crevice to kind of hide in right there. So I'm going to get this sanded over. I'll sand it and then go over and we'll get it routed right quick. Okay, so did a little bit of prep work, but got it ready to go. So for this section, I'm not gonna drill it and screw it like I've done all the others, because such a small area to do the finish work, to cut and finish off these dowels where they would look right would just be, that would be a nightmare to try to get in there with a sander and all. I mean, it wouldn't be a nightmare, but it'd be a pain in the butt. It's something I don't care to deal with right now, is what I'm trying to get at. So anyhow, obviously, this top is lower than these other two. So in an effort to make sure that everything lines up good, I went ahead and I got a piece of stock that I had, and I've got a quick grip to the legs right here, and went ahead and test fitted it. I set my top in. I have to bring it in underneath these two tops right here because they have a little bit of an overhang. So I bring it in from the side, and then I dropped it down, and this is on the side. This is level with these two stretchers right here. So what I did was I put it in here and I set it down on top of it. Then I took this piece of stock right here, and it will actually sit right on top of this other one and sit flush against the front of both of these tops. Then I can just push this right against it. I put a little line right here on it. So basically when I'm setting this thing in there, I can kind of roughly line it up on the line. That way when I set it down, because I want to set it directly down as close to my final resting place, because I won't have to slide it and just smear the glue everywhere and make a big fat mess. So the plan will be to bring this thing in, kind of let this edge down right on the line, and then drop it down. Then I'll go on and take my piece of stock, I'll set it up here, I'll pull it into it. Then once we're good there, I'm gonna get a couple quick grips and I'm gonna put on it there. Once it's held in place real good with those, then I'll come over here and I'll pop this piece of stock off and I'll quick grip it down right here. There'll be a little bit of squish out, a little bit of glue that I'll have to clean up, but I don't anticipate that being much of an issue. So finally gonna glue the last piece of this thing on. It's pretty exciting because once this thing gets glued and done, then really we'll just be down to kind of blowing it off and putting the finish on it and getting ready to put this thing in place. So finally starting to wrap this project up here. That way maybe I can start to use it, finally get this saw up off the floor and do what it was intended to. So without further ado, I guess let's get to it. All right, well, this is our finished product, for lack of a better term anyway. Now, in the years to come, I will add things to it, I'm sure. I'm either gonna add a shelf here and a shelf there, or I may put some drawers in this. I'm toying with building out really the whole underside of this into a toolbox eventually, but that is going to be a long time in the future. But you see, in the end, it really came out really, really nice. A little bit like a little dark spot right here where the clamp was. Not really sure why that did that. I don't really care because it's going to be under the saw. So it's certainly not perfect, ouch, in any way, but I really like how it turned out. And for just a, you know, a workbench that's going to hold a cold saw and get greasy stuff put all over it and dirty stuff put all over it throughout time, then, you know, I think it's going to more than do the job that I want. So now you see right there, this is our top coat. So let me show you what we're working with here. All right, so as you see, I got my glovey gloves on. This is Danish oil. I like to use Danish oil on things I want to use in my shop because I really like using it on everything, to be honest with you. Because for me, I like wood to feel like wood. I don't like it when it's completely perfectly smooth and flat, like if you put a urethane top coat on it or something where it's all just a perfect finish and all that. I've spent a lot of time sanding this stuff and getting it where it all does feel nice and flat and perfect and you can't feel the seams, but I want it to still feel like wood and have the texture and the warmth to it that wood has over steel. Even in my workshop stuff, I don't know why, I figure I spent this much time trying to make it look nice, you know. I might as well put a nice top coat on it too, and the way it still feels nice. And my workbench in the steel shop has held up great so far with this Danish oil on it. I like this stuff because it doesn't sit on top of the wood. It actually soaks into the wood. It'll penetrate down into it and it seals the wood up from that. Now you put you know, just one coat on it. You let it soak in for I don't know, I think 30 minutes. I don't really remember. I'll have to read the can. Then you come back, you put a second coat on it, and then you know, give it 30 minutes or so to soak in good. And then you come back, you wipe off all the excess with a dry cloth, and then you're done. Really, it doesn't really take a lot of time to set up. I'll let it sit overnight to make sure that it's just all soaked in good and dried good, and then tomorrow I'll move it into the steel shop and start putting this guy to work. So I'm gonna go on and I'll video, you know, putting the first coat on the tops right here. I'm not gonna make you watch me do the whole thing because you'll be able to see the color change right here. I can't really get to where you can see me do the sides, and once you see me do the top, you see me do it anyway. So you can see the color change. We'll put the first top coat on, and then I'll go ahead and I'll pause the video and we'll come back when she's slid into position and ready to start working. So let's get to putting some finish on this dude. right, well, here it is, our final product. So I put the dark walnut Danish oil on this one. I thought that's what I put on my other workbench. I guess it was not. I think it was just the natural, which I ain't mad though. It still looks really, really good. I mean, just unbelievably happy with how the whole thing turned out. The saw goes right there. So now I'm ready to go slide this thing into position and put it to work. So I reckon that is going to be a wrap for the Mitre Station. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.